invited you in to do the time zero. We talked about the singularity and the explosion into space. So then that was really the birth of the universe. And from the birth of the universe, we had the formations of the planets and all of that, right? And then, of course, the sun. Now, during this particular time, when we had the birth of the sun, the earth was not the beautiful earth that we have now. This is our beautiful earth, blue earth that we have. The earth at that time was a place that no one could live on. In fact, there was no life, and this period was called the Azoic period. There was no life. I suppose you could really say it was an angry earth because there were so many volcanoes. Everything was happening there. Meteoroids were bombarding the earth. Just a whole bunch of things were happening. And when the meteorites would bombard the earth, craters would form in the earth, much the way there are craters on the moon now. So there were elements, for instance, methane. Methane is a very smelly gas, okay? And then you had ammonia, you had carbon dioxide. All these elements were present at the time. Then you had a radioactive element that was called uranium. And uranium released the heat at that particular time. And the heat just kind of built up inside the earth. After a while, this heat became so intense that the rocks and the minerals began to melt themselves out. So what was happening internally began to show on the outside of the earth because there were cracks, fissures, or whatever you want to call them, and there was an outgassing at this particular time. The entire crust of the earth was fractured so that this heat could come out of the earth. All right, when this happened, all of these volcanoes were going on and the lava was flowing. So, as I said in the beginning, it isn't a place that you would want to live. We couldn't have lived on the earth at this time. Well, after they had the outgas, and many, many millions of years passed, and the heat just kind of dissipated into space. The crust began to solidify, come together again, and so many things happened. At this particular time, the lighter rocks kind of floated above the heavier, denser rocks. And they would go down into the basins of the earth. So I have a little short experiment here that will show you that the density. So what I have here, I have sand. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to shake this. And look what happens. The ping pong balls come to the top. So that shows that the sand is denser than the ping pong balls. And this is what was happening on the earth at that time. The denser rocks would go into the depressions and the other rocks and minerals will come to the top. Okay. Now, during this time of the outgassing, we had millions of tons of water vapor that became a part of the atmosphere. and the crust of the earth solidifying once again, and the water vapor began to condense and fall on the surface of the earth. And actually what was happening then, or what happened as a result of this, we had the oceans, the beginning of the oceans and the seas. The clouds that had been so heavy on the earth began to clear, and once again you can see a clear sunlight. So now what you have here, and we have two of these charts. I like this one because we've had it for a while, but you have here your layer of the earth chart. Okay. And it shows you about the core, the mantle, the crust of the earth. But what we also have here, and you may use it, we've had this for quite a while, so we will find here that it isn't as nice as it used to be, but you will get an opportunity here to see the parts of the earth on the inside. So you have the same thing here, and you have a chart that goes along with it. Okay. You have your inner core, which is shown here, the inner core. Then you have your outer core of the earth, and these are the parts that you can take apart, but you can see it here, your outer core. You have your mantle, clearly seen here. You have your crust of the earth. And you're able to put those back together like this. And this is the chart that goes along with that. And in addition to that, we have, excuse me, may I have this? We have a little booklet that goes along with it. And the booklet defines those parts of the earth that we talked about. So you get a definition for the crust of the earth. You get a definition for the mantle of the earth. The outer core is defined, as well as your inner core. So that will be on the shelf and available for you to use. Now remember, we were talking about the volcanoes that were happening at this time. And since Miss Bentrup was kind enough to make a volcano for us at the beginning of the school year, she's going to set one into action for you.
All right, and here we go.
It's Hawaiian pie.
Thank you, Ms. Bentrup. Now, this is only one part of the story. We will continue this part of another part of the story, but this is the end of the first lesson that has to do with the geologic timeline.